coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Lowe. 4 wide at the stripe. But Audie's win here on this outside line. Neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call. The playoffs continue with one race down and a trip to the gambling city, where tonight we welcome you to the second race in the round of 10 of the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series in Season 3 from the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway with live coverage right here on the KBueno Racing Network. We're happy to have you join us as we find out who takes the risk and who will earn the jackpot. We're alongside Charlie Baier in the commentary booth. My name is Kenneth Bueno. Well, one road course aside last week, the Charlotte Roval, we get to wrap back around to Las Vegas where intensity can rise, and Charlie, where strategy can get you in position to punch your ticket into the next round and keep running for that title.
We're back under the lights, and we're back on a 1.5 mile racetrack with that high downforce package. So a lot of guys are going to be making a lot of aggressive moves tonight, try to move on to the next round, try to get some points. And it's definitely going to be a race to remember here under the lights.
And this second race in the round of 10 will bring an opportunity for any playoff driver to kick into the round of 7 and join Aiden Kirker, who picked up his first win of the season last week at the Charlotte Roval. But these two races in Vegas and Dover certainly aren't for the faint of heart. And you can see it right in the middle of your screen. We show you the playoff grid. Obviously, the Charlotte Roval outlined in yellow. That means we have already completed that race. Now it's down to Las Vegas tonight and Dover in the Monster Mile next week. You see Aiden Kirker in that little green and yellow coloring right there over his name. That means he is locked in. You see him already into the round of 7. But for everyone else, it's still a battle for points, still a battle to find their way in, keep themselves over the top 7. And Charlie, it's a very competitive one. I mean, we have everybody here apart from Riley Marabello, who unfortunately is still recovering from COVID-19. He's not going to be able to be here tonight. But for all of these other drivers, the Roval was a big test, but tonight on the ovals will really be where your stars will shine, where you have to be at point, because when we get to the finale, it's a 1.5 miler.
There's definitely a lot of traits that carry over between these 1.5 mile racetracks, and a lot of similarities definitely that these guys are going to have to adjust to, get used to, and carry on as we dip even further into these playoff rounds. So there's going to be a lot of battles on the racetrack tonight, but the battle that I'm going to be looking at the most and probably going to observe the most is the battle for the cutoff line. Jonathan T. Jones just 1 point ahead of Cole Williams, and that is the cutoff. So all Cole Williams needs to do is pick up a few bonus points, finish ahead of him, and he'll be into the next round. But that's going to be fully solid and determined next week. So this week is a really good opportunity for Cole to get that jump so he can even have a better shot and an even better cushion next week.
And it's going to be very pertinent if you want to continue your stride to the next round. And, of course, you really don't want to bank on Dover that much, because Dover, it's a very tricky track on its own right. Very, very treacherous, very abrasive. It is going to be probably one of the biggest ones that you want to avoid if you're one of the drivers that are looking in the points right now. We still have this race to get underway, and as the drivers are lining up on the grid, it's our time to take a look at your starting grid, see exactly where every driver and your favorite driver will be starting here tonight from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It'll be Nick Miller on the pole, the winner over at Chicago last week. He'll stay and lead the field of the green flag, and right alongside him, defending champion Blaze McKinney, who tried to rebound from his Charlotte Roval performance last week. He'll be looking from the second spot tonight.
Driver third in points, that is Parker White, the number 95 car starting inside in row number 2. And to his outside, Shane DiMantova, looking for another good run. He's second closest to the cutoff line, looking for another good run here tonight. That'll round out row number 2.
Then back to row number 3, playoff driver Jonathan T. Jones will line up in the inside of the top 5. And driver who's joining us once again, Hunter Rupp in the 61, a non-playoff driver looking for some sort of fun performance here in Las Vegas. He's going to be starting tonight from the 6th spot.
Two drivers that we've seen a couple times this season, but are making yet another start tonight. Brody Garner in the 55 on the inside, and Sartaj Man, two proximity racing teammates. They'll start out in number 7 and 8.
And then back to row number 5, Francisco Bacalhau is back here once again. We're working the KBRN machine. He'll start tonight from the 9th spot. Peter Kenny in the 35 will round out this top 10. We'll take a look all the way back to, I believe, our 18 cars, which you have all the way through this field. Glenn Bundren Jr. will start 11th. Aiden Kirker, your winner last week, already locked in to the playoffs. He's going to be looking tonight from the 12th spot. And then further back, Mark Frimpong will be joining us in the 53 machine, with Brady Weileman in the 51 right behind him. He's a playoff driver as well. Joseph Costello will join our fray with Shane Mantova just a little bit further back. Cole Williams also in there as well. Actually, Cole Williams starting way back in the field with Cole Woody and Aaron Tribble in the number 84, with Dane Cruz, I believe, being the final driver in this field. With the 18 cars, as you see everybody lining up, everyone starting to make their way to the front, and Miller will be the one leading us to the green flag when we begin this race. And before we get going, it's a little good to take a reference of where we are in the virtual world, and we'll take a look at that with our KBRN Track Map with images provided by Google Earth. Step all the way into the gambling city just outside of the main strip at Las Vegas, and you'll find the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 1.5 miles, track opened in 1996, with banking at about 12 to 20 degrees. It's a progressive run throughout this racetrack. Of course, we're on the asphalt here tonight, but again, one of the very, very interesting 1.5 milers, and certainly will be more interesting if we see some other lanes start to kick up. We see the inside being the most dominant, but could possibly see some drivers going up that progressive banking, probably going even to the wall almost, in terms of trying to get the best runs they can, stick in the throttle with these high downforce package machines. So we'll just have to see. We've seen some drivers do it already in the practice session. They've experimented with that, and it's now time for them to put it into the race, see if they can perform and be as fast as they can. Remember, Miller was the winner at the last 1.5 miler we visited at Chicagoland, albeit due to fuel strategy, but nonetheless, he still took that checkered flag. He's going to be one to watch, and he's going to be the one leading us to the green flag off of turn 4. Pace truck is off to the left. We are playoff racing from Las Vegas.
A lot of guys searching around the racetrack for grip. You see a couple cars loose back there. That is the cold tires kicking in. He'll save it. That's Peter Kenny on the bottom, and that Peacock race car. Nick Miller will lead line number 1. We're almost 4 wide down the front straightaway.
There's a bunch of cars spraying through. You saw one of the drivers down there on the bottom. Peter Kenny got into trouble. There's another car who got loose. As you saw, Mark Frimpong, Francisco Bacalhau, Joseph Costello in this group. There's Costello trying to save the race car all the way to the bottom. I believe he stayed straight, almost contact with Bundren down to the back straightaway. Bundren has fallen all the way to the tail end of this group. He'll have to find his way through, but so far, very, very loose race cars. But up front, Parker White is just taking the lead off of turn number 4 for lap number 2.
See if he can lead the lap. Yes, he does. So Parker White will lead lap number 2 of 100 whole laps here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. See, Brody Garner experimenting with that top line, and that's one of the things that these guys have been experimenting with in the past iRacing build, where they added that wall kind of aerodynamic type feel, where it's supposedly is supposed to make the wall dynamics better if you get a line going up there, but Brody Garner is trying to make the best of it.
trying to make it work, but so far he's fallen back just about 2 spots. He was 3 wide in the back straightaway with McKinney and Jonathan T. Jones. They're going to try and scrapple for that 3rd spot. Meanwhile, it is still door-to-door even for that 1st spot and the top position, but Parker will maintain it off turn 2, almost clear it around. I believe Miller still has that nose in, and you're riding on board with Nicky Miller as he enters into turn 3.
I don't see this as a good advantage for Parker White to be stuck on the bottom here, because that's not gonna be good for his right front tire or his right side tires for that matter if he keeps cranking that wheel and staying on the bottom. So I'm interested to see how he's gonna handle this on the long run. But I think Nick Miller's at a really good spot right now, especially later in the one when that outside line is gonna be a lot more dominant when they're trying to pass.
Of course, so we're going to see that outside line probably kick in a little later once those tires start to wear out. And obviously, we've seen it over at Chicago where they really have to lay off the throttle, and the abrasive track surface really changed the dynamic of that entire race in terms of trying to save your stuff and keeping yourself in the right spot. Right now, Parker White has just cleared himself for the race lead. Jonathan T. Jones still working for 3rd spot. It's less of a battle this time. Not really 3 cars, now just squabbled to 2 between Jones and Garner. Sartaj Mon is joining us this season once again. He's up in the top 5 spot. And here are the 2 drivers that were fighting for that regular season title, albeit one of them, though, locked into the round of 7. Aiden Kirker has been looking under. So far, many just single file right now to the top 10. I believe just trying to conserve what they can.
And Kirker, obviously one of the guys who had a bit of weight lifted off his shoulders. He can pretty much run for a win now because he took that win last week at the Charlotte Roval. He can go for wherever he wants. He's got nothing to lose this round so far. He doesn't have to worry about anything until we get to the next round. With that eliminations, a lot of guys looking 3 wide in the corner. Jonathan T. Jones to the bottom, and I believe that is for 2nd place. And yes, he is. Jonathan, one of the cars or one of the drivers who needs points over that cutoff line. He's 1 point from being eliminated when we go to Dover next week.
Miller, who was 2nd that last time by, he's all the way back to 7th. He already fell up to the outside, and everyone pretty much barreled through. Look at Brody Garner still trying to make use of that outside wall. Don't think it's been in effect just yet, but he's still trying to make that defense work at the moment to Sartaj in the 49. He'll have that hole to fill right where Jonathan T. Jones is to the outside. And pretty much this is allowing Parker, Charlie, to get away with this lead. You're seeing everybody side by side. They're all within each other's draft. That 95, looking in the rear view mirror, he must be smiling, seeing everybody battling with each other, knowing he can start to gap them a lot more.
That's really what you want to see as a leader, and especially when the tires start to fall off, it gets a lot harder for the guys behind you to catch up. And partnered with that huge spoiler on the back of that car with the dirty air, it's only going to make it harder for these guys. So I think Parker's in a really good spot right now. He can begin to save his tires as Brody Garner moves inside for the 2nd spot.
So there goes Brody Garner. There are another 2 guys down there for the 4th spot. That's Sartaj Mon and Aiden Kirker. Look at this group a little bit further back, though. That's Mark Frimpong getting by Nick Miller. Hunter Rupp, Cole Woody also in this group as well. None of these playoff drivers apart from Miller, but still looking for a win. Obviously still looking for some sort of glory here in the Bundren Lawn Care Series. And Frimpong so far leading this little small group outside of the top 5 and just inside of that top 7 or about the top 10 or so. And you look all the way back, Cole Williams is sitting 15th right now. I believe just trying to hold on to his self. And here's a little 4-car train, starting with Francisco Bacquiao running our own car, KBRN on his Toyota Camry number 30. It's good to see him back on the racetrack after his issues over at Michigan, where he was fighting for the race lead with Aaron Mulroney Jr. So very good to see him back on the racetrack, currently battling for that 13th or 12th spot with Aaron Tribble and Shane Mantova, playoff driver. Very good to see Francisco as he's working that middle groove.
See the in-car here, and one of the beauties of iRacing in general is trying to search for that line and being able to have that kind of creativity in what lines you can pick and choose. See Francisco just kind of playing and follow the Aaron Tribble there as he watches up the racetrack a little bit.
He continues on through. We'll look and see if anything changes from there on out. That battle for 2nd has dwindled down, so Garner loses that spot. He'll suffice to 3rd at the moment. Kirker, though, pretty much barreling through this field. He started all the way back in just a couple of rows deep, and now he's already up to 4th. And he decided to cut through everybody very early on this one in order to make things happen so far in this early one. But what we saw there, Charlie, at Chicagoland, I think a very good reference to what you can see at Las Vegas, or even last season's Las Vegas race, where strategy was such a big part of that event, where you saw pretty much everybody on a green flag run. Then we had those green-white checkers all the way at the end, but that strategy really set things up for what we saw in those final laps. And of course, Chicagoland also following a fuel strategy. Garner just gets turned to the outside wall. Very hard contact with Jonathan T. Jones. More drivers involved. Woody, Weileman in it. A gigantic crash off of turn number 4. Garner had just gotten tagged in the right rear, and he is out down a pit road. Kirker, who was sliding through the grass, I believe he's also finding amends down a pit road as well. And we were not expecting that off of turn 4, and a playoff driver involved.
Wow. That is not good at all for the 4 of Jonathan T. Jones. And we see Bertie Garner just kind of coming up and up with the track. JTJ continues to pinch him down. They just come together.
You'll see it once more here. You see Garner go to the crossover on the back straightaway. Of course, he was looking for second just a handful of laps ago. He does it again this time, and he has the advantage into turn 3. You can see him just slightly wash up the track, and then you see the 4 of Jones gets into him right to the right rear, sends a 55 hard into the outside wall. There's McKinney with damage. Weileman goes sending in it. Cole Woody also. There's Francisco barely getting through. And you see it in Kirker had just had that damage. It literally happened right in front of him. And we'll look on board with him as he was looking through the mess right here alongside.
Oh, man.
Well, luckily for him, he has that win to his belt. He's locked in the round of 7. So that won't be too much of an issue for him. Blaze McKinney has also had damage, and everybody had just gone down pit road. Parker White will lead the one on pit road. Shane Mantova will be the only driver to stay out this time by, since everybody will get fresh tires and fuel. See the drivers over with damage. McKinney being one of them. You can see him down, getting that right side front, or the right front bumper there on a pit road. There's Garner and Jones respectively, and this is a very big hit, Charlie, for the 4 of Jones. Just 1 point out of that playoff, looking in the top 7. And tonight with this, it's really going to be a bigger dent this time when we get to Dover.
Wow.
So that'll be our first yellow of the evening, lap number 14 of 100. Parker White had been leading pretty much every lap this race after taking it away from Nick Miller. Miller, though, on an update, he's fallen back to 6, so he'll start on the outside of row number 3. And it'll be Shane Mantova, who had stayed on a pit road. He will be your leader next time by. Again, playoff drivers lining up the first row. We'll see how D. Mantova does in order to fend off all the drivers onto the fresher tires. Well, if you're watching right here on the KBueno Racing Network and you want to join the conversation, you can do so by using hashtag AskKBRN. You can ask any question followed by that hashtag and ask anything you like about the series, about the race, about our thoughts, about our broadcasting services, and much, much more. That's hashtag AskKBRN for anything you'd want to ask. So we'll have our restart lap number 17 of 100. Still no talk about pitch strategy. Of course, we were looking at a long green flag run, possibly within that first stint before the Jonathan T. Jones and Brody Garner incident. They must be out of this race for good, at least at this point. Jones still down pit road. Kirker seems to be out of this one as well. And Weileman and Dane Cruz, your final drivers. I believe Cruz did not start, so he was already out of the race from the drop of the green flag. But Weileman will be out of this one. Another playoff driver in trouble. We'll see how the 2 playoff drivers do up front, though. D. Mantova and White, first 2 to lead us back to the green flag on lap number 17.
Mark Frimpong with a push from Sartaj Mon to the bottom of the racetrack. He'll have to run down the back straightaway. We'll see if he makes a move on Danny Mantova, but he will move up. That'll let Sartaj Mon, with help from, I believe that is Max Urich, on the bottom side right behind him. Oh, sorry, that's Hunter Rupp, excuse me.
And you can see the fresh tires starting to make some sort of a difference. Frimpong all the way to the outside wall. Parker, though, trying to split the middle. Miller also trying to help as well. Did not work that time by. new race leader, Mark Frimpong, on lap number 18. Here's 3 wide, though, for 4th behind them. Sartaj looking all the way to the inside of the white line. He's going to make it stick. Miller will succumb, and here comes Parker White for the race lead on the back straightaway.
Last time we saw Mark Frimpong up front was during the 2 plate races that we had earlier this season, Daytona, the season opener, and Talladega later in the season. But he has the pressure from that rear bumper, or the front bumper of Parker White. 2 Toyotas up front with a Toyota in 3rd.
Remember, White is the only playoff driver so far in this top 3. Miller lining up the top 5, and then every other driver is a non-playoff driver. Hunter Rupp lining up that outside the top 5. Here's Aaron Tribble. We haven't seen starting near the rear of the field. He's already picked up from that first incident. He's starting to make something happen, but something's all the way up front. Here's the 95, going to force the issue, dive the nose into turn 3. He'll make that pass for the lead on lap number 19. So back to the lead goes that Bundren Toyota Camry. He'll be back up front, looking to pull away from the rest of these guys so far. There goes Miller for the 3rd spot. And something we also talked about here, Charlie, is just how these drivers are, the 1.5 milers. Talk about Parker White. Only win in this series was at a road course. But if you look at all those other performances at the 1.5 milers, they've been very, very close. Las Vegas being one of them, where he stayed out on that last restart on the green, white, checkered, and pretty much he had the older tires, and he had nothing to really hold off any of the drivers on the fresh rubber that time. He fell all the way to the latter half of the top 10, and also same thing at Charlotte, where he was so close to the race win and really had nowhere to go at the end, and he was all the way to the back. He was not able to get that win, and Parker trying to redeem himself still on the oval side. He's still up to the race lead, but still a charge from Frimpong, and Miller slowly catching up.
The guys trying to settle in after that wreck. Took a good bit of guys out, so the field is getting a lot less dense, you could say. So these guys are just trying to spread each other out, trying to get single file, trying to get into the rhythm. As you see, just down the front straight, the lack of cars and undamaged cars you see it up front.
You're riding on board with the 49 of Sartaj Maan, who just used that outside to get by for 4th. That's Hunter Rupp and Aaron Tribble right behind him. They've been trying to make some moves along each other. They're trying to make some sort of moves. A lot of Toyota Camrys up here. Pretty much the only one that's not a Toyota Camry, Nick Miller, pretty much lining up the middle, splicing everybody. And guess who's up in 7th? Glenn Bundren Jr. back up to the mix. He, remember, fall back on the first lap, I believe just due to that outside line, but he's already found his way up. The 37, obviously the league owner of the Bundren Lawn Care Series and Season 1 champion. Won it at Homestead Miami Speedway and the highest position finishing. So he was the one that won the title that time by, and doing very well for himself. And also good news on the real life side as well. Heard he got an opportunity to drive one of the race cars at his local Grundy County Speedway. So very, very great news for the 37. Obviously some high hopes, and obviously maybe even more interesting, Bundren and McKinney right now are in the same house with their rigs right alongside each other. So if we get tensions between them, maybe we see a fist fight between them and a camera, I believe, maybe so. It sounded a little off the charts, but it's fine. It's still okay. At the quarter mark of lap number 100, which will be our finishing lap so far, lap number 24, and Parker White has taken back the race lead. Change for 2nd did happen on turn number 3 just a couple laps prior. That was Nick Miller. And so he's back to 2nd. He's going to try and charge up to Parker White and try to retake the race lead from where he started this race under the green flag. We'll take a look a little bit further back. Actually, there's one driver up on the wall. That's Cole Woody in the 17. He's up to the outside wall, but luckily he's not around. He's trying to stay out of everybody's way. Will that cause a yellow, though? He's pretty much stuck all the way to the outside wall. I think that will cause a yellow flag. Actually, no, he'll be out of this race for good. I believe it may have been a hardware issue for the 17.
See what happened here. I think, oh man, the 30 and the 17 just come together, and that'll end Cole Woody's race.
You can see right here, this is going into turn number 1. Francisco Bacquiao had the run. I'm not sure what might have happened after, where Woody had just not turned the wheel back straight in order to keep himself on the track. You can see the contact here as the 30 kind of washed up. 17 also kind of went down to arc as well, and then right up to the outside wall he went. But look at that steering wheel all the way hooked to the right, pretty much up to the outside wall, and then comes to a complete stop on the track. I'm not sure why that did not trigger a yellow flag, or why he didn't go back straight. I'm not sure whether that was both a hardware issue or just a product of the wreck, where he not decided to turn the wheel back straight. Pretty much thought his race was over for good. Here's a battle over for third on back. Frimpong trying to hold off two Toyota Camrys and Sartajman and Hunter Up. And obviously, Charlie, you can easily tell the difference between Charlotte Roval and tonight's race here at Las Vegas. You can see a lot more non-playoff drivers making their statements together, because at the Charlotte Roval, we had maybe about 3, I'd say, non-playoff drivers. That easily whittled down, and then by the time the race was over, we had all 10 playoff drivers in the same race, and they were the only drivers left on the track to finish at the checkered flag. And you can easily tell now a lot more non-playoff drivers starting to make them names for themselves and trying to continue their stretch and make something and try to get a win in the series.
They could, obviously, since it's the playoffs, obviously the guys are going to be a little bit more considerate to those playoff guys. But a lot of these guys are just here to run, and a lot of them are here to win, such as Mark Frimpong. You see with his aggressive moves all the way up to the front tip of the field, and Sartajman as well. So, again, with all due respect, these guys are still racing for wins and doing everything they can to get up front.
And Frimpong, one of those drivers, I believe, tried to register for the session at the Roval or just a couple of weeks back, where Frimpong just could not make the green flag, and it would have been interesting to see whether he would have mixed into the field, because he's known to be one of the stronger drivers, and especially making more starts in this series this season. It has been more interesting to see him out on track. Obviously, guys like Sartajman and Hunter Up, we've seen a couple of times throughout last season, and the 49 of Mon, he's been very strong. He's shown up to be top 5 driver. And remember, he was pretty much second to his teammate Nick Miller at the time when they were both on Sim Performance Group at Kansas. And that was the race last season where Miller had locked himself in the championship 4. Hunter Rupp had also made some appearances at some of the tracks as well. And they're returning to the series, obviously still trying to find some sort of win in this series, get some success as well, even if they're not in the playoffs. But look at the couple drivers a little bit further back in the playoffs, though, with those green banners. That's how you can tell they're running for a title. Glenn Bundren now under fire from Aaron Tribble. Blaze McKinney with that damage, though, not too much of an effect. He's 8th right now, but Charlie, at least from these first 2 races, you're seeing just how much McKinney has to work here, because you saw in turn 1, Charlotte Roval, first race of the playoffs, went straight into the barrier with Parker White and pretty much had a rough race from there, had to get all that damage fixed, pretty much had the hood off the race car, and now tonight he had that little piece of the wreck between Jones and Garner, so it's been a lot more to work through compared to what we saw in that first round where McKinney had won at Chicago and then he didn't have to worry about the next 2 races. He's done a lot more work here in this round already.
Yeah, and I think, one of the saving graces for Blaze McKinney was winning that regular season championship. That gave him an extra 15 bonus points, so that definitely helped his case a lot, and being able to maintain that, I guess, playoff point there now, because Aiden Kirker did take that win. So Blaze McKinney's still in a good spot and is able to cruise on to the next round. He just needs to get through next week properly.
And here's a couple of other drivers we have yet to mention. Joseph Costello, Peter Kenny being those drivers. Cole Williams hanging back in 12th, and we mentioned him back in 15th earlier in the event, and he's been one of those drivers just to stay low and stay considerate. However, though, if you look at the playoff standings, he's pretty much right there at the cusp of that elimination there in the top 7, so not sure whether he's just trying to keep something up his sleeve for the rest of this event for now as to why he's staying all the way back in the latter half of the top, or the beginning of the top 15 rather, in 12th. Or maybe he's just looking to stay back, stay clean, maybe stay out of some of the calamity that could happen all the way up front. But so far, it's Parker White leading lap number 35, has had a good chunk of this race so far, and easily has about a half a second lead over Nick Miller. Really has not changed. Miller has really yet to catch up to the 95 just yet. Pretty much top 3 all spread out by just a handful of tenths.
As we dig kind of later into this run, we're going to see tire strategy. It's the repeated cycle of tire strategy and the fuel run that we've seen pretty much every single long run that we've got all season. And I mean, one of the guys who's probably the most aggressive on strategy is the car we're on board with right now. He won Chicagoland on that fuel strategy, was able to save almost an entire lap over the next car that he was battling with, was able to take his first win, or second win, I should say, of the season. So if it comes down to it, I think we're going to get either a 2 or 3 stop race, but that is dependent on if we go green the entire way.
And obviously Chicago was the one where we saw the long green flag runs come into fruition, and it was pretty much Miller's race to lose. He had that strategy up to the middle, pitted earlier on lap number 63 compared to everyone else, and pretty much that set him straight for the rest of the event. He was able to stay out, he was able to maintain that distance, and at the end, that fuel-saving battle with Mason Thompson, one of the more exciting races and endings that we've had in a race in the Bundren Lawn Care Series this season, where it was pretty much who was going to outsave the most compared to those two. And obviously Mason Thompson had ran out of fuel coming to the white flag, and that gave Miller enough time and enough leeway to take that race win. That was his second, and easily continued his stretch in the playoffs, gave him some good sort of momentum going into these playoffs. He's done well for himself so far. Right now sitting second, wouldn't be too hard to complain, but at this point, Charlie, we're probably dipping our toes into this pit strategy. We're probably going to see now at a longer green flag run, we've had drivers pit in that first caution in lap number 15, and now we're just about, I'd say, 24 laps out of that range where people had already topped off on fuel. Do you expect anyone to short pit or anyone to kind of pit a little early to kind of stretch the odds a little more?
Well, I definitely think that, you know, we can go into a talk for almost like 30 minutes about the different types of fuel strategy. But yeah, I definitely think that, you know, if we do get a 1 or 2 stop race, someone could undercut or cut these two kind of runs in halves of each other. And that'll allow them to undercut while also making up a bunch of time and still having a bit of fuel in the tank when they go down the pit road next. So that just causes for a lot more time gain. Nick Miller is trying to, I guess, search up the racetrack right there, letting Mike Frimpong by.
He saw him all the way to the outside, almost actually tagged the wall on a 1 and 2, and then he's now just let Frimpong by for that second spot. So now Frimpong will slip there, Hunter Rupp will be 4th, and maybe the next driver to attack if Miller continues to fall through this field. And pretty much no battles on the racetrack for the most part. But here's a little small group starting with Sartaj Mon into the number 49. There's Bundren, who's just gone by Aaron Tribble. So now he will also be right there trying to get to Mon on this longer run. And obviously another thing to watch for here is the tire conservation, Charlie. I think at Chicago, it's a lot easier, or actually it's a lot harder at Chicago rather, to handle that tire wear, just because the track is a lot more abrasive than usual. Here at Vegas, it's a little smoother, it's a little easier to kind of manage that tires or the shoes right underneath you, but it's still a very tough challenge. Maybe that's why we're seeing guys like Cole Williams stay in the back, maybe just hoping everybody uses their stuff up in the early stages and then start to attack as McKinney looks for that spot under Aaron Tribble into turn 3. Continue to roll on through this 4-car pack you're watching. There was the pass. Aaron Tribble loses that spot, so he's back to 8th. Pretty much all these guys pretty much in the closest group so far in this race. And actually, we have one driver down pit road. That is the number 82 of Cole Williams. Has been hanging in the back tonight so far, and now he's going to have the first stop down pit road. He's going to be the first one to get some of his service, and now he's going to kick off this fuel strategy on lap number 43.
Interesting strategy by Cole Williams. I think he's kind of going with the cutting run in half strategy that I just mentioned, but it's definitely a different approach to what I was expecting, really.
And he's the first one to short pit, so this is going to be interesting to see how that pays out for him, especially at this mark of the race, since we're almost at our halfway marker, and we really have yet to see anyone else go down pit road just yet. Nobody has elected. Nobody has pretty much thought about it for the moment, but Williams will be the first one to do so. Now he's 1 lap down, but this could pay dividends to the later portions of this race should we get to that point. A very good shout out to the people over in the YouTube chat and giving us some love. My cousin Justin in there as well, sister Kylie also in there, my best friend Evan also in this one as well, and obviously some of the conversation that's going on as well. So the chat certainly appreciate it 100%. Here is Miller though, looking for 3rd. Hunter Rupp has gotten some of that draft away. He's looking right there to the back bumper of the number 9 machine. Obviously very familiar, that number 9, Chase Elliott. Hendrick Motorsports, a champion last season in the NASCAR Cup Series over at Phoenix Raceway. You see Miller just trying to scoop up the high line, but it doesn't really seem to work. But possible strategy here for Miller. I think you mentioned it there, Charlie. Maybe just letting these guys by, letting them use their stuff up, and now he can try and save.
I think that's the plan right now for Nick Miller. Is either to save or actually he's going to dip down pit road right now, kind of shortly after Cole Williams. That's probably going to kick off our green flag pit stops. Quite a bit early in the run for these guys to go down pit road, but it's certainly going to pull an interesting strategy out of their pocket.
So now another driver down pit road. It'll be Miller. So now we've only had about 2 drivers on their stint. I believe Joseph Costello has also followed suit, so he's going to join Miller down pit road. They will be the next set of drivers to make their way in. Obviously, Williams still pitted just about 3 laps to go, so he's going to stay out for the time being. For everybody else, it's pretty much just staying out at this point, making sure they get to the halfway point. Maybe they can try and splice it through the middle if they're able to make it in some sort of run. But at least at this point, possibly looking at about, I'd say 25 to 30 laps could be that fuel window where we'll see the rest of everybody go down pit road. But yet to see pretty much the top 3, everybody else apart from Miller and Joseph Costello had out of pit road. There's Miller, rather, going out of pit road right now. He's going to merge out into the back straightaway. Cole Williams had just gotten by. Now they're both 1 lap down. I believe Shani Mantova, actually no, he pitted about 11 laps ago. So he pitted way earlier than these guys. And he's also 1 lap down on the track. Costello fell 1 lap down as well, and he's most recently pitted. Actually, here are the drivers going down pit road. There's Parker White and Mark Frimpong, Francisco Bacalhau also to join the fray. They're all going to head down pit road this time by.
We're at the halfway point in the race, but if these guys all come down pit road, Francisco missing his stall there. But if we're going to pit at the halfway point, I'm really interested. We don't know the fuel run yet, honestly. We don't know how long these guys can go on a full tank of fuel, so the question is, will they make it a full 50 laps? The only people who will know that is the drivers.
Yeah, we're probably looking at about 30 lap stint. Saw pretty much everybody about 30 to 32 laps. That's the target that they're hitting when they go down pit road. I believe Parker was about 33 laps before heading down pit road. Now the only driver to stay out is Glenn Bundren, who's run 35 laps on his stint and is possibly most likely going to look down pit road this time by. There he is down pit road, hitting the brakes and almost spinning the race car. But we'll keep it straight. Hopefully we'll make pit road speed. And he'll be there to make pit road at the halfway mark. Oh my goodness, a hard dropping moment for Glenn Bundren. That could have been big if he had lost control of the race car. Here's everybody else coming out of pit road though. White, Frimpong, Miller, they're all going to be possible net P1. Actually, Williams will be net P1 at the moment, but he's got a lot of these drivers charging, so maybe could be the payoff that Williams is looking for.
And he's certainly in a position where if a caution will come out, he's going to be the leader. He's in a really, really good position to hold that race lead. But right now, he's getting that bonus point if he stays out front, if he passes Glenn Bundren, which he will, because Glenn Bundren is in pit road. So he's going to get that extra bonus point and further his points gap over the cutoff line, because obviously with the departure or the DNF of Jonathan T. Jones, that's really, really helped him in moving on to the next round.
And there are a bunch of drivers who pretty much are out of this race that are in the playoffs. You mentioned Jonathan T. Jones being one of those. Aiden Kirker could have been one of those drivers. However, he's already locked in. And Brady Weileman, he's also was involved in that incident at the beginning stage of this race. And now he is pretty much out of this one for good. It'll definitely hurt him over to the Monster Mile. Here's a change for the lead. It'll be the fresh tires at the beneficiary for the 95 of Parker White. He's going to easily slip by. However, it will probably be a softened blow for Cole Williams. He'll probably fall back through this field, but probably not by much, because if you're looking at the distance between everybody out to about 5th, it's about 5 seconds between Hunter Rupp, sitting in 5th right now at the cusp, with Sartaj and Shani Mantova along right behind him, and the leader Parker White. So there could be enough time for that 82 of Williams to hold on, maybe let these guys by for the moment, but then everybody behind him, they could use their stuff up and he could easily sit comfortably within the top 5 or so.
And Parker White, it's not the first time we've seen Parker White lead at the halfway point or in the latter half of a race and then kind of slips out of his hands, really. But I think that if this does go green, it's going to be a kind of a tire-saving game between the 95, the 051, and the 9 car.
It's definitely going to be probably between these 3 if we stay green. There's Jonathan T. Jones. He's trying to muster what he can out on the racetrack at this point. And obviously Parker White still trying to make some sort of a move up to the inside, or at least the middle lane. He's going to try to get somewhere up so far. And obviously I've been talking about Parker White for a while in this series, especially in season 2 where we had him so close to victory. then capturing a victory season 3, and also being close to many more other victories even in the rest of these races, and yet has still not been able to catch that oval win just yet. But as we're crossing over the halfway point, it's a good time to go through the field right here on the KBueno Racing Network, and we'll of course start with the 95. Your race leader, Parker White, has led 44 of the 55 laps tonight, has been easily the most dominant car at this point of this race, and has pretty much taken the lead back away from Cole Williams just a handful of laps earlier. So far, that 95 has been mistake-free, certainly looking for a redeeming effort after the wreck at Charlotte Roval. Still finished in the top 5, but a very, very heartbreaking one, which could have been a race win at the Roval to lock himself into the round of 7. He's still eyeing that so far in the race lead on a turn number 4.
One of the guys who races with us with time to time, that's the 051 of Mark Frimpong. He raced with us at Daytona earlier in the season and Talladega later, kind of at the halfway point of the season. Those are a few notable races where he's been up front, but he's in a good position right now and catching the leader of the 95 of Parker White. So Mark Frimpong just needs a good tire saving strategy to take over this lead and possibly the win if this goes green all the way to the end. Mark Frimpong currently sitting second.
Winner at the last 1.5 miler revisited this season, Nick Miller, 2-time race winner, so far has been the master of few strategy, and we've seen it already at Chicagoland, and it is certainly paying off a very strong performance at the moment for him. Pole sitter, but only led 1 lap before losing the lead to Parker White. However, he has still stuck strong at his highest, being second after he lost the race lead. And of course, now he's sitting third, just right behind Frimpong and Parker White. So he's still hanging with the top guys in this race. And Nick Miller still looking for another strong points day to keep him in the top 7 in points.
Single-time win in the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series. That came at the season closer at Phoenix last week. That was a championship race. So all Cole Williams needs is a good rest of the night tonight, and he'll be able to move himself above the cut line with following the DNF of Jonathan T. Jones. So Cole Williams was kind of at a disadvantage coming into the playoffs, but he was able to make up that 5-point deficit. And after tonight, all he has to do is just, I guess, finish the race, and he will be in that position to go into the next round after next week at Dover. So Cole Williams needs all the points he can get right now, currently sitting 4th.
Driver sitting inside the top 5, actually battled for that spot, but it'll be the 49 of Sartaj Maan, a driver that we've not seen in the playoffs just yet in this series, but has made some of his appearances and has kept his strong nature. And right now, he's continuing that stride up in the 5th spot, fighting with Hunter Rupp and Aaron Tribble at the moment. But the former SPG driver, certainly very strong, finished second at the 1.5 miler over at Kansas Speedway as he's dooring right there. A little contact with Hunter Rupp down the back straightaway. But so far, looking at a very strong night in this top 5. Maybe some good effort here for the 49.
Hunter, once again, one of the periodic races in that 61 car. Normally races the Ice Car. You usually see him on the MaxB TV broadcast for the Ice Car Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and the Truck Series. But he's taken this league for a chance a couple times this season so far. Currently sitting 6th, right where he started.
Aaron Tribble in the number 84 joined this race all the way back in 19th spot, pretty much at the tail end, but has pretty much worked his way up ever since that first incident, and now he's battling with these guys over for top 5. Very, very strong run for Tribble at the moment. He's going to try to continue that in his Jordan, number 84, Toyota Camry, also another driver who has made some of his sporadic starts in this series at the moment. There's a contact there a little bit up ahead the road with Rupp and Maan. They've been working together at least side by side for the past couple laps. We'll look through the rest of this field. League owner Glenn Bundren currently sitting in 8th. Blaze McKinney, defending champion, currently sitting in 9th. Joseph Costello rounding out the final spot in this top 10. But under fire. There may have been Bundren around. I believe may have got turned by McKinney into turn 3. Caution waves for the second time tonight on lap number 63 of 100. Maybe not enough damage for the 37. But contact between those two will set us under another yellow tonight. We were just going through the field as they were going into turn 3. Here was the battle for that spot between McKinney and Bundren. And you see McKinney looking to the inside and just gets into his left rear. Hard hit to the outside barrier. And another playoff driver in peril at the Gambling City.
Wow. I have no words for that.
Take a look on board with McKinney. There's the contacts. Almost reminiscent of what you see in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series between Zelensky and Ryan Luza when it was coming to the championship. That little contact And the overcorrection into the outside wall. And another playoff driver with a heavy hit. And possible race done as he's already down to pit road. Well, now this pretty much throws the whole pit strategy out the window, Charlie, I'd say. Because now it pretty much looks like the consensus will be everyone for 4 tires and fuel. That'll easily be the case for White, Frimpong, Miller, and the rest of these guys behind. Going to be hard on the brakes to get there to their stalls. And everyone going to be in and led by Parker White. Don't believe anyone will stay out at this moment. Got a couple of questions over into the YouTube chat. One by Tom Gold. He asked, hey man, how are your broadcasts over at Sunday Night NASCAR? Well, unfortunately, we've had some of our issues or technical issues with Sunday Night NASCAR. However, we are still working to figure that out and get things rolling for the 2021 season when they kick off at Daytona. And obviously, we're going to try to get that the best way we can. Figure ourselves out for those moments. You're seeing the battle off of pit road. It'll most likely belong to Parker White once again. Frimpong over to second. Cole Williams will be third. And another question by Kylie Alexa. She asked, what's your favorite part about this series? And Charlie, I know both of us have been around this series, I believe, pretty much since its inception. I think the ending of season 1 was really where I started. I remember making that start at Homestead in the Xfinity car, back when it was in the Xfinity car. And then the season 2 explosion starting with us broadcasting the Bundren Lawn Care series at Daytona. And from then on to season 3, what has been your favorite part so far about the series, and especially when it comes to our coverage?
Well, I think there's a lot of good moments that we've seen throughout, this series' history. But I think that, I think it's really a connection we've had with this series for so long, and we've made a lot of very, very good people here. And that's probably one of my favorite parts is all the friends we've made. You and I, Kenneth, we've made so many friends here, and I think that's something that I'll never take for granted is taking that. So that's probably one of my favorite parts of this series.
Yeah, this series has brought us along with a lot of drivers and pretty much has got us accustomed to some of the talent you see on the iRacing service. Obviously, Parker White, Miller, Frimpong, McKinney, a lot of these drivers that have significant talent. We've seen guys like Aaron Mulrooney Jr., we've seen Hunter Johnson, I believe we've seen Dylan Ault also in this series in some appearances as well. We've seen them put out their talents. Lots of great drivers on the sim, and of course, very, very good folk outside of the sim. Good people to talk to, and of course, very, very fun to watch them rip around the tracks in the Bundren Lawn Care series, considering how this series has grown at the moment. You see a couple drivers actually electing to save. 3 drivers here all the way to actually more than 3, all the way to the inside apron. That's White, Frimpong, Miller, I believe Rupp, and a lot of these other guys are staying underneath this apron to save some fuel. Possibly just working around and try to get that win at the end of this race here, Charlie.
I think so, and once again, we're unsure of the actual fuel window. But if I were to guess, I would say, if I were to make a guess right now, it would probably be between 40, 50, maybe 30 laps. So I think we're kind of at that point where we're about 35 laps away from the finish. So I think fuel saving is definitely imminent.
Yeah, we're seeing them continue to save all the way to the apron, trying to stay on the flat part of the track in order to keep the fuel tank from not pretty much leaning over on itself. There's one driver down pit road all the way near the rear. I believe that's Peter Kenny in the 35. Indeed it is, so he's going to possibly get some damage repair. Now we've got the 1 to green signal from the pace truck. And Charlie, we got a question by Riley Marabello, playoff driver, who unfortunately couldn't make it here tonight. He asks, how many more playoff drivers will bite the dust? We've seen a couple. Could possibly see more. Do you see any in that future?
Well, if there's any that's, oh man, this is a hard question. If there's any that I see kind of biting the dust, kind of in this race, it's likely to be the guys that are going to be going racing for a win, really, because they're going to be racing the hardest.
And that possibly could be it. You see everyone just trying to find themselves out 2 by 2 by 2. It'll be Parker White at the head of the field who'll lead us back to the green flag with Mark Frimpong alongside. Miller will be the inside of row number 2 with Hunter Rupp to the outside. Then row number 3, it'll be Joseph Costello in 5th, Aaron Tribble to the outside in 6th spot. So if you're looking for playoff drivers within the top 5, there are only 2, which is Miller and White. You'll have to look back to Shani Mantova in 8th to find the first playoff driver, and it was the one sitting just inside of the top 10. And then obviously Cole Williams sitting in that top 10. Blaze McKinney 11th. Glenn Bundren 13th. Most likely out of this event. We'll have our green flag here on lap number 68 at 100 with just more than 20 laps to go. Back under green from Vegas.
Good jump by Parker White. That's going to let Mark Frimpong, who started on his outside, slide down into the bottom line. A lot of guys back there with the fresh 4 Goodyear Eagles on their cars. They're going to be fighting for all those positions. Here comes Sartos Mon, 3 wide to the bottom of the racetrack.
Sartaj is going to look to the bottom of Francisco. He'll make the space work. McKinney will follow as well to the bottom. But look who's charging for second. There's Nick Miller. He got his nose underneath Mark Frimpong. He's door to door at the line. Tribble, Rupp also joining the conversation. They're still even with Parker White on lap number 69.
You can have the advantage on the outside line. And here comes Aaron Tribble to help. That's Nick Miller off the racetrack.
Miller
and
spinning around. Miller around on the back straightaway. Another one bites the dust. As Tribble got into the outside wall. Contact between them two. Well, we have had playoff drivers in all sorts of trouble tonight. And again, it'll strike Nick Miller. Caution waves. We'll take a look back at this one as he was fighting for second. And he was right to the white line. You see him get a little bit squirrely down low and trying to overcorrect the car right into Aaron Tribble. And then in the outside wall, almost tagged into Joseph Costello as well. And Tribble also into trouble. As he got into the outside wall right there, you can see the contact. He's trying to slow the car down. Peter Kenny at a job to get by. Unbelievable situation here. With now 30 laps to go.
And I think that kind of was a product of cold tires there. Nick Miller just tried to power it on the bottom, and you really can't do it with a cold set, especially on such a cool racetrack in that nighttime. Hit the apron, continued to go up the racetrack, and ran out of room to save it.
Unfortunate for Miller. He is going to be down pit road with pretty much a good chunk of the field. Cole Williamson also decided to pit. Shindy Mantova also will top off. If a lot of these drivers who we're looking to save may have a saving grace. There's Frimpong down pit road. Peter Kenny down pit road as well. McKinney also down there. So pretty much everyone looking to top off. But White being the only driver with Hunter Rupp, Sartaj Mon, and Francisco Bacallao. All Toyota Camrys. Going to be staying out this time by. And now this will be even more interesting because now everyone has gone down pit road. I believe here, Charlie, they can make it all the way. If they probably save a little more, I think they can hit that window just the right way so they have enough fuel to get to the end of this event. And they'll have a little more fuel in the tank than Parker White. So now, what does Parker White do knowing that he's at that sort of disadvantage where he has to save a lot more?
Well, I think Parker White does what Parker White does. I think he's just going to stay out front and try to lead as much as he can. That's been the strategy throughout this entire season so far. So I think nothing's going to change for him, but he's going to try to hold it for as long as he can with that charging field behind him.
We'll see. You can see him all the way down to the inside wall. That's him saving gas. You'll see him, his engine turning off, him putting in the clutch. And that signals that he is turning his engine off. Making sure he stays with enough fuel in his tank to make it to the end. However, if we do have more yellows, could be that opportunity for White to stay out. But the only problem would be that if he's the only one, maybe along with these other three, with Rupp, Mon, and Bacallao, they'll be down pit road as well. But the problem will persist where they'll have to go down pit road. They will lose track position as a result. But if they get tires, that could possibly make up that difference, but it's still completely up in the air. We still don't know. As you see, pretty much all four of these guys, even Frimpong, all the way down to save fuel. Boy, this is going to be a very interesting restart next time by when we get the 1 to green signal. Don't go anywhere. We've got more coming up here on the KBueno Racing Network. You're watching the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series playoff race number 2 for the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Parker White currently leads this field with just under 30 laps to go. Coverage of the Bundren Lawn Care Series right here on the KBueno Racing Network is brought to you by iRacing. Start your sim racing career today at iRacing.com. By EU Media Graphic Design. For inquiries, just message eo.media on Instagram. And by Supermix Concrete Blocks on Demand. Well, welcome back to coverage of the Bundren Lawn Care Series from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Parker White will be the first one to lead us back to the green flag alongside Hunter Rupp. Two Toyota Camrys on lap number 74. We've had calamity all across the board. Will it continue? We'll have just to find out.
Parker White continues to lead the way. And we're just over 25 laps to go in this race, so we're obviously in the closing stages. So we're going to see probably the most aggressive moves of the night. A lot of guys seeing up here for pretty much the first time all night. You see Joseph Costello dipping into the top 5, Peter Kenny as well, Hunter Rupp, and you see the guys who've been up front. That's Sartaj Maan looking at the inside for the race lead.
Here comes Sartaj Maan underneath Parker White. He had that help from Mark Frimpong to the inside. He's going to find his way all the way to the line. There goes Frimpong, a little loose to the bottom. He'll save it though, maybe contact with McKinney, but we stay green. McKinney possibly with more damage to the front end. Frimpong will fall outside of the top 5. Meanwhile, Maan still at the charge. Off of turn 4, they're even with Hupp behind them.
I think that Hunter Rupp is going to be the determinator to see which line goes. He's going to stick to the bottom of the racetrack. He's going to help Sartaj out. Sartaj washes up a little bit. And will there be contact?
Almost contact between the two leaders, but we stay clean. Parker, though, with the advantage so far into turn 3. Bamon will have the shortest way around the racetrack. Still tight to the bottom. White just trying to pinch as much as he can, but this will help Hunter Rupp's case. He'll try to catch up to both of these guys. If they continue to stay side by side, he can take that draft off of these guys and possibly even look further back. Costello, Bacalhau, McKinney, they're also at the charge as almost more contact between the two leaders again.
Happens once again, Sartaj just continuing to watch up the track just a little bit. That's opening up the door for the 61 of Hunter Rupp to make a move. He could possibly make a bonsai through-wide move for the race lead if he's in the right position. But Sartaj Maan is not done battling yet. Pushes him up the racetrack once again. And he's going to come around and try to lead lap number 77.
Well, it is still tight. White, though, with that advantage right to the stripe. He'll lead that lap at lap number 78. And Rupp still a little bit further back behind. Maybe going to arc the corner just a little more. But here comes a charging Blaze McKinney. He'll get by Joseph Costello for that spot into 4th. He's been crawling his way up through the field so far, and even with that damage has not slowed him down one bit, but still side by side between White and Maan. Possible tire degradation even further at the reins for these two, as Rupp will try to continue on. These three still breaking away from the field.
While these two are side by side, that's going to allow Blaze McKinney to help his case. Parker White moves up the racetrack. Sartaj Maan will clear him for the race lead. Hunter Rupp looks to the bottom for even more positions. He's up to 2nd.
And White almost had contact. He's going to block McKinney to the bottom of the racetrack. Almost contact and bumpers between those two. Now White will have to hit the reset button, and Sartaj will be a headway for the field. Rupp right behind him. It is 3 Toyota Camrys, but here comes McKinney under 20 laps ago from Vegas.
It's a blocking game for Sartaj Maan now, as he kind of has to work both lines and prevent just a singular bumper from getting to the inside of him. And that's pretty much going to determine which line you're going to be entering the corner. And it'll pretty much determine the rest of your race, because with this package, it's almost like a follow the leader.
And that draft certainly helping out. You saw a couple cars getting in trouble behind. Then Mark Frimpong all the way to the inside. He got damaged. Maybe contact with Joseph Costello. I see heavy damage to the rear end of the spoiler of the number 60. So possible contact between them two into turn 3. And Frimpong, his night has just gone bad. He's all the way back to 8th now. Still trying to crawl up. You see him to the outside. But here comes McKinney to the outside for that 3rd spot. He didn't say look for the inside. He looked for the top. He's going to try and pinch his way through, but they're still going to be at a crossroads within each other, and it's a top 4 breakaway as Bacalhau sits into the top 5.
Yeah, Francisco Bacalhau just trying to kind of sit back there, but also gain a bit of time on the pack just in case any of these guys get together. That's a few extra positions that he can gain with just under 20 laps to go. But Blaze McKinney, charging Blaze McKinney, has clawed his way up into this top 4. You see Mark Frimpong around in the back.
Frimpong around in the back straightaway. Contact more with Costello and Peter Kenny. Will that bring out a yellow? We'll find out. He's wrecking underneath the white line. No yellow. We stay green. Frimpong, unfortunate end to his evening. Here are the top three, though. McKinney got by to third. Here's Hunter Rupp for the first spot into turn 1.
He hits the apron. That's going to flume him up the racetrack. Shindy Mantova. Oh, excuse me. And the caution has come out.
And a caution out with just over 17 laps to go.
That was an admin thrown caution.
Well, so it was thrown by the officials, I believe, in response to Mark Frimpong's incident down the back straightaway. We'll take a look at where that began as well, because we didn't really see it all too much. So here there in the back. Here he is with Shane Mantova. As he fell out, he got by Joseph Costello, but then Mantova was also charging as well. You see Mantova just looking to the inside. I think there's where the contact started off turn 2. He's at the 53, just wobbling around the track. More contact with the 60 of Costello, sliding down the racetrack. Peter Kenny also got his nose chopped off.
Oh. As the car, okay. Parker White, they were all lining up behind the pace car, and Parker White just got absolutely drilled.
We're still looking at this incident so far. We'll take a look at what's happened up front. And Parker White is without a rear bumper on the track, and even more so with damage. Where did that begin?
It happened in turn number 3.
We'll see. This is off turn number 2. I believe this is slowing down for the pace car. There's McKinney, and Francisco goes sailing into the 95. And it was almost more contact, though, with McKinney, who just barely got by as well. All right, heavy miscommunication there between the drivers. Here's on board with Bacalhau under the pacing. They were catching up with the pace car. Oh, man. That is rough. Mon is out of pit road. He's the first one out. Hunter Rupp will follow suit to second. McKinney, I believe with mostly fixed race car, he'll be out to third. As Mantova, who was involved in that incident with Mark Frimpong, he'll line up fourth. Bacalhau will sit the top 5 with some damage. Williams out as well. Costello, Miller, and White. And another dominant race could just slip away from his hands this time.
I have no words for that.
It is very, very detrimental here. And again, another playoff driver in trouble. Charlie, we've talked about it all night long. It's been the theme so far here at Vegas. Jonathan Jones involved in an incident with Brody Garner. Brady Walleman getting collected in that. Aiden Kirker getting collected in it. And they're all out of this race. Nick Miller with contact to the outside wall. Bundren contact with McKinney sends him around to the outside wall in turn 3. McKinney with a fair share of damage himself. And now Parker White, he's now out of the racetrack, but he is 10th. And albeit with a somewhat beat up race car. I think the only driver so far without any issues has been Cole Williams and possibly Shane Mantova, with pretty much minimal to no damage. But Cole has not shown up for the lead just yet. But this could be that opportunity for him to do so. And we continue to dwindle down our field. Charlie, if we're looking at any expectations for the final 15 laps of this race, do you have any in mind, or you think it's pretty much just a blank slate at this point?
At this point in the race, with pretty much all that's happened so far, I think that, man, I'm not sure what to expect, and that's kind of been the theme of this race so far.
And we still don't know what's going to happen, but it'll be 2 non-playoff drivers this time leading this field. And then 2 or 3 playoff drivers actually behind them in McKinney, Mantova, and Williams. They'll round out rows number 2 and part of row number 3. But Sartaj Mon with that move to the inside of Parker White gave him the race lead. He has not looked back so far, but there was a challenge from Hunter Rupp right before that yellow. But we'll see how they two fare and how McKinney will do. He was charging up through the field prior to that yellow flag, fighting with Parker White, then trying to make a pressure move to Hunter Rupp in the 61 machine. And now we've got the 1 to green signal from the pace truck, so they'll take one more trip around this 1.5-mile racetrack, and we'll be back under green for what could possibly be our final restart of the evening. But if we have more yellows, of course, could easily seep ourselves into a green-white checkered. Obviously still very, very far from that. And I don't believe pitch strategy is in the cards anymore, Charlie. We've pretty much had everybody top off for the most part. I think everybody should be good all the way around to the checkered flag. And the only thing to stop them is incidents along the way. It's been a key part of our race tonight. It's been pretty much an attrition-filled event. We'll see who survives at the cream of the crop. We go back under green. Mon, Rupp, McKinney, DeMantova, Williams, Costello. Your first 3 rows. Pace truck to the left of pit road. Mon and Hunter Rupp back under green from Vegas.
With the advantage to the inside, that's Sartaj Mon. He will take over the race lead, but Hunter Rupp's going to get that run down the back straightaway. Down to the inside, will he block or will he stay on the high side to try to defend himself?
He'll go to the inside. Mon might be looking for a pinch in a turn 3. Won't do it. New race leader, Hunter Rupp. This time by on lap number 89, but here's the crossover to the inside. Here comes Sartaj Mon in the 49, but don't look now. McKinney in a third. DeMantova and Williams fighting for that top 5. All 3 of them playoff drivers. Here's McKinney to the quarter panel of the 61. He's looking for second off turn 2 and even more. Parker White's around.
And he's going to save it down the back straightaway. Miraculous save back up front. Blaze McKinney was able to hold that run all the way down the back straightaway and is now looking for the race lead, coming to just 11 laps to go when they cross the stripe.
11 laps to go. Now everybody in the top 5 is all within this fight. Almost contact there between the 61 and the 87. They stay clean. Here comes Williams, DeMantova, maybe even Costello, but Costello's almost around as well. He's going to be able to save the race car. Still tight, up for the first spot. Mon still leading though into turn 3.
There's only one way to end this chaotic race, and that is in chaotic matter. Sartaj Mon trying to block all he can up front. Blaze McKinney trying to just get a nose down the inside, but has not been able to be successful so far. 10 laps to go from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Cole Williams and Shane Mantova just kind of hanging behind and seeing what they can do. Contact between the 87 and the 61.
Remember, everyone in this top 5, apart from McKinney, has not won a race in the Bundren Lawn Care Series yet. Mon, Rupp, Williams, and DeMantova all, actually no, it's 3 drivers without a win. Williams with 1, McKinney with a handful, and the rest of them without any. Still, Mon at the head of this field. Now a change for 3rd. Williams will make his way into the top 3 in the last step of the podium. Rupp will fall back to 4th. Possible in a battle there with DeMantova. Here is Cole Williams, gonna sneak his nose to the inside. Won't find that space just yet. He'll look for it to the back straightaway, trying to find some sort of grip, but it is not there. Mon still leading into turn 3 with 8 laps to go.
Came in looking for points, now looking for a race win. That's Cole Williams up to the 3rd position, trying to help Blaze McKinney all he can, but it's kind of just to follow the leader right now. McKinney trying to take the short way around the racetrack. He'll look back to the inside in turn number 1, but he'll stay right behind him. Sartaj Mon defending that high line.
It's playoff drivers versus non-playoff drivers, 3 versus 2. All of them into the bottom, the 2 non-playoff drivers to the top. McKinney with some sort of help from Cole Williams. Here he goes into turn number 3, right underneath McKinney. He'll look for a second, side-by-side, pinching, almost contact.
Pinching it down all he can. That let Cole Williams get loose on the bottom of the racetrack. Here comes Shady Matova, 3 wide on the outside. Not enough to get a nose up there yet. Blaze McKinney was able to defend off that 2nd position and be able to try to race for this race win as Hunter Rupp gained some ground on the outside for the 3rd position.
And all Mon has to do is just defend, defend, defend. But the amount of time left in this race, it'll be a tall task with a charging Blaze McKinney working the middle this time by, trying to arc the corner to the entrance and the exit all the way through so far. You're riding on the board with the 87 as we get 7 laps to go.
steady movements from that 87 car, just trying to save any bit of any he's trying to get any leverage on that 49 car as he can. They're going to come around and get 5 laps to go. When they cross the stripe, you see him just searching for a line, searching for any place to get a run and make that bonsai move to the inside.
The question is, where will he make that move? Because if he does it now, how much time will Mon have to try and repeat that move back around with the dirty air and being in that dirty air once again in a second? But it is top 4 in a train. McKinney with a crossover, gonna look to the outside. Would have been very close to pinch to the outside wall. Here's Hunter Rupp, contact, McKinney around into turn 2.
And that let Hunter Rupp move up to the second position. Blaze McKinney, your second in points position, is now out of this race win as we got 5 laps to go.
Coming to 4 laps to go, McKinney out of the conversation. It's whittled to just the big 3 here. Mon, Rupp, and Williams. Williams being the only playoff driver in this group. 4 laps to go, all in Mon's hands. 3 Toyota Camrys into turn 1, all using the higher groove.
You see Shane DiMantova right there. I'm not sure if he's kind of taking a laying back strategy, if he's trying to save his stuff, then go up there and try to race for the win, try to steal from these 3 guys up front. But it's all Sartaj Man up front who's shown his dominance in this last half, or this last quarter of the race, leading the majority of it. As they're going to come around and take 3 laps to go from Las Vegas.
And now, what really sets into the mind of the 61 or the 82, maybe even the 20 rather, with 3 laps to go, when will you make this move? When will you try to build up that run in the draft to try and catch up to the 49? We have yet to see anyone pass him after the 49 had taken the race lead away from Parker White, and it is yet to be contested for the 49. Just at this moment, Hunter Rupp still trying to work with the other 2 playoff drivers right behind him, but Mon in the 49 will look to the start-finish line 2 laps ago from Las Vegas.
The 20 car has caught up to this 3-car pack and is now a 4-car battle for the race lead, but they're still holding single file as anyone moving down below or high will change this race entirely for them. Here's the 20 of Shane DiMantova. Will the 82 squeeze to the outside of the 61? He will. This could give him a shot for the race lead.
But this could also mean some trouble for them too if they stay side by side. Here's Williams trying to pinch to the quarter panel of the 61. They'll still be side by side, but Sartaj Man will take the white flag one more time around from the gambling city in Las Vegas. Still with a charge though, Williams right to the back bumper. Here is Hunter Rupp also as well. There's contact there, a little bit of a bumper, more turning behind the field. He saves it. Very miraculous save by Cole Williams. DiMantova will slip in a third. One final shot for Cole Williams and the rest of the gang to try to catch up to Mon, but it'll be Mon, the Toyota Camry, off turn 4. He'll take the lead, he'll hold on, and he'll win at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
A 4-car battle to the finish, and it all came down to the race leader who led the last portion of this run and took that race win. Congratulations to Sartaj Man.
Williams will finish second. DiMantova will line up the top 3. We had talked about all night long, Charlie, about how much of a comeback run it was needed for Williams to find his way back into the top 7. This was his wish granted. He'll finish second, though, just short of the win. Hunter Rupp, though, what a valiant effort for him. He had a shot at the race win itself. He'll finish tonight in 4th. Joseph Costello will survive for top 5. McKinney, though, with all that damage, he'll suffer to 6th. There's Sartaj Man, first win of the Bundren Lawn Care Series for him. He'll burn it down. In front of the virtual fans, there's Brody Garner to help celebrate. And we were questioning in those final laps whether Mon was going to be contested. He was, but he kept himself calm, composed, and he walks away from Vegas as a Bundren Lawn Care Series winner. There's a little tap by Brody Garner. A little more of a celebration effort. Well, that was wild to the end. It was 4 cars. Were you expecting?
Any way possible. So I was certainly predicting something to happen, but I think it was just kind of bad timing and a little bit of running out of room into turn 3 in the final corner.
So it was Sartaj Man picking up his first win, and we'll take a look at your full unofficial results from the second playoff race of the Bundren Lawn Care Series from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Sartaj Man, again, his first win of the Bundren Lawn Care Series comes here tonight, holding off Cole Williams, who will finish second, and Shane DiMantova, Hunter Rupp, who will finish 3rd and 4th. A very, very good effort for Williams and Demantova now. They'll have some well-needed points going into the Monster Mile next week. Obviously, Hunter Up had previously mentioned he survives to 4th place. Joseph Costello got a little bit loose in that final stint to the checkered flag, but he'll survive to 5th. Blaze McKinney, that contact there at the front of the field, he will survive to 6th. Parker White, that damage to the rear end, and another dominant effort will turn into a 7th place finish. Nick Miller, his crash on the back straightaway will send him further down the order. He'll be 8th. Peter Kenny will finish 9th, and Francisco Bacallao will line up this top 10 3 laps down.
Right outside the top 10, that's Mark Frimpong, who was hoping to have a good finish here tonight. Comes up in 11th place, shows up at the top 10, 8 laps down. Aaron Tribble finishes 12th. Glenn Bundren, after getting turned by his good friend, and that number 87, Blaze McKinney, he finishes 13th. Brody Garner, 14th. Jonathan T. Jones, getting turned from the 2nd position, finishes 15th. Cole Woody, 16th. Aiden Kirker, 17th. Brady Wheelerman, 18th. And Dane Cruz in the 19th position.
Just take a moment to look at a lot of the playoff drivers that find themselves in trouble tonight. Jones being one of them, Bundren as well, Weileman, Kirker, but luckily for Kirker, he's locked into the next round, so no worries for him, but it is all sweats for Weileman, Jones, Bundren. They will possibly be at the cusp of the rear in the top 10 in the playoffs, and they will be at a very, very tough spot going into the Monster Mile next week. Well, we've caught up with our race winner down in victory lane, the number 49 of Sartaj Maan, and we'll bring him in. Started 8th, but held on in the final laps to take the checkered flag. And Sartaj, I'd say probably the most nerve-wracking final laps for you. It was a fight to the end and all the way to the bitter end of the checkered flag. You had pretty much everybody on your tail after you got by Parker White. Walk us through that experience, trying to defend the best you can in those final laps to take the victory.
Well, the stop after, I passed Parker White when I was leading onto the pits, I accidentally took 2 tires. So that's why I had such a big lead coming out of pit road. And I thought I lost. I was like, there's no way I keep this up. But, with dirty air on my side, everything on my side, somehow ended up keeping them behind me. I thought Cole was going to give me at the end, though, but had to send the last block to him, get that win.
And this comes not only as just a win in the Bundren Lawn Care Series, but your first. I remember you sat 2nd behind your teammate Nick Miller at the time last season at Kansas, and it looked like you were looking for that checkered flag. Just give us your emotions. Well, how do you feel now that you've been able to kind of get that monkey off your back and you've now won a Bundren Lawn Care Series race here tonight?
It just feels great. Like, it's been a long time coming for me to just get a win here.
Obviously, certainly very ecstatic after that win. And, of course, up us in the booth, we were watching those 4 cars in a train trying to catch up to you, and you were able to hold on in the final laps. But, Sartaj, before we let you go to continue to celebrate here in the Gambling City, maybe go gambling a little bit in the virtual side, who do you got to thank? Any teams, sponsors, or anyone else who decided to give the shout-outs and love to for tonight's performance?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank my team, Proximity Racing, and just all they do, and thanks for bringing me this paint as well.
Well, Sartaj, we thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us, and of course, congratulations on your victory here from Las Vegas. We hope to see you over at Dover and the rest of the races coming through, and obviously we'll let you celebrate here from the Gambling City. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is Sartaj Maan and the 49, your winner here tonight from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Non-playoff driver, but still put the strength to even the playoff drivers up behind him. And speaking of the playoff drivers behind him, it was one of them in Cole Williams in the 82. He finished his 2nd here tonight. Well-needed performance in the points. He's sitting trackside with KBRN's Charlie Baier.
A well-needed performance tonight. Cole, you came in tonight needing some points, and you were able to go fight for a win with what was one of the most chaotic races and finishes of the season. Just talk about that chaotic race for you as a whole and surviving and being able to fight for that win at the end.
Yeah, man. I was fortunate to see the caution come out in the long run there. I felt like we did a really good short pit strategy. I was thinking that if they would have went green, they would have made one mistake. But the strategy that I probably could have won that, or at least had a top 5 locked right there. But obviously, we're not going to keep green, so we just get cautions, and then the cautions breed cautions. It's just on these fresh tires and this package. It's just crazy racing. It was wild out there. I didn't qualify. I kind of just sat in the back and expected some wrecks. That's what happened at the start with I think Jonathan got wrecked, Brady got wrecked, Aiden got wrecked. Obviously Aiden not applicable for points, but obviously two people the person who was right behind me and then the person who was right in front of me wrecking out of the race. I just known that I need to finish, and likely only about 10 cars were probably going to end up finishing. That's pretty much what happened. But it was wild out there. The ending was, yeah, it was chaotic. People just running over each other, left and right. I guess Sartaj was on two tires right there by accident, and that obviously means especially since the tires had worn a little bit, I probably could have just went low on because I was going to clear Hunter right there, until he just said no and went straight off the corner and decided to end my chances. But we were just going to probably go underneath him right there and past Sartaj, given that we had, the left front actually wears a good bit in this, so I probably would have just cleared, went by. But it's whatever. It's all I mean that would have locked me into the next round, but I think we're looking at the points where we have a good cushion now, after an okay run at the Roval and then great run here tonight. So I think we'll be chilling. So yeah.
Yeah, and you gain not one but two positions over the cutoff line, so that'll be easier on your back with that 5 point gap or gap between these playoff drivers. So it's Dover next week. It's kind of an unpredictable track. It's a tough track on these cars and for the drivers as well. So I have to ask, it is the cutoff race, but you're in a 2-spot cushion, but obviously nobody is safe. So what's the strategy going to be there?
I don't know, man. It really just depends on, first of all, how many cars show up, and then from there it's just yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen there because it's a talent package, so it depends on who shows up really, because the car is actually difficult to drive. So we get really slippery off the corners, and also you're plowing until the exit pretty much. So with that, we'll just have to just keep fighting basically through the long runs there. I have a notorious problem with choking in the last 10 laps of that track off of turn 2, just getting loose and ending my race in the cup car there. And same thing with the B car. So we just need to finish probably, look at the points. Yeah, 2-point gap to 7th, the cut line, and then we got about a 10-point gap or so to the first person out. So I think we'll be all right for points. I mean, maybe if only 20 people show up, then really we could have 7 cars retired by probably the last quarter of the race. So we just got to look out for bonus points. Of course, with that strategy we did tonight, we were able to lead a lap, and that obviously is another bonus point. And then we're looking to lock ourselves, have no worries for next week. But of course, when you get driven in the left rear, going into 1 and 2 for the final time in the leaders bumper, you're gonna have no chance. So we'll just have to move on. And Dover should be a good race. You can definitely put up a lot of side-by-side battling there. It's just going to be probably maybe caution field race, possibly with the package we have to run there, which to me should promote passing and just fun in general. So it should be a good race for sure.
All righty, Cole. Well, we'll see you next week at Dover. But until then, do you have anyone or any teams or any sponsors that you'd like to thank for making tonight's top 2 run possible?
I just want to thank EMR Meter Racing, of course. Thanks to you guys for putting on this broadcast, of course, every single week here in the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series. Always fun to get these interviews and being able to run with some of the best on iRacing Sim. I just want to thank Stealth Energy, Apollo Gaming, Z's Custom Diecast for, of course, being on the car. Beautiful looking 82 Shane DiMantova designs, or made by Shane DiMantova designs, Toyota Camry that lately we've been putting up front pretty good. So I think the last 3 races we finished in top 5 every single one of them, I believe. So we're definitely kicking it on the right time. Obviously, it feels like this might have been the first Bundy race where nothing catastrophic or nothing really horrible happened. Obviously, I think we had that race one without the contact on the last lap, but that's still nothing to be mad about, especially with P2 and a bonus points. That's basically winning points minus the bonus points. So, and gaining a big margin on the people that had unfortunate circumstances happen to them today. So we'll head into Dover, and we'll try to keep that the right front and the right rear clean. And then from there, we're just going to try to hustle that car around that grueling track and see what we can do next week.
Alrighty, Cole. Well, we'll see you there, and we certainly wish you the best of luck, as Dover is going to be an unpredictable one. We'll see you there, man. Good luck.
Thank you.
That's Cole Williams, your second place finisher. Some well-needed points and a good step going into the Monster Mile next week. Another playoff driver with a well-needed step into that 3rd race of the round of 10 will be the number 20 of Shane DiMantova, We'll catch up with him down pit road. And Shane, it was a wild race for you. You started all the way in 4th, but you had pretty much a journey through most of this field. You had a look to the back, had a look to the front, and in those final laps, it looked like you were going to put somewhat of a charge to the main guys. What was that like up there, or at least what was the finish like from your perspective, and how you felt as you crossed the checkered flag?
First off, it's just great to be talking with you guys up here. Just not too many great results so far this year, just been consistent. But at the end there, yeah, honestly, I didn't really have too much speed all night, and consistency was just trying to be my thing and just stay out of the wrecks. And coming to like the white, I just knew that maybe Cole could get to Sartaj and Hunter, and possibly 3 of them could spin, and I could somehow come away with the win. And then heading into 1, I ran the bottom like I've been doing for the past 10, 15 laps, and Hunter got up the track and got him to Cole, and then those two kind of just got slow off the corner, and I ducked behind Cole, and then it was just on from 3rd there.
It was a very adventurous trip for you. I saw you obviously looking to the inside of Cole Williams, and but nonetheless, you finished here in the 3rd spot, the last step of the podium, and now you can gain some of those points to go into Dover. Obviously, it's not a lock, it's not a ticket punched, but it is a good step forward. It is a step in the right direction. What's going to be that mindset for you guys as you go into Dover now? Very treacherous track, very abrasive surface. How are you guys going to try and handle that to make sure you come out of there at the checkered flag in the top 7 onto the next round?
Yeah, probably just the same plan as today. It's just consistency and keeping our car clean. So, I'm not a big fan of Dover. It's not one of my best tracks in iRacing, so definitely a lot of preparation is going to go in and make sure we have a good run and just stay out of trouble. Because I know there's going to be a lot of quick guys, and there's going to be lots of yellows because obviously it's a short track and really tight. So I feel like if we could just stay out of trouble and be there at the end, kind of just like today, then we should be set.
Well, Shane, obviously a valid performance here at Las Vegas in the 1.5 milers before we conclude the round of 10 next week. But before we let you go, I know there's a lot of people you got to thank. So who gets it done for you each and every week? Teammates, sponsors, or anyone else you decide to give the love and shout out to for tonight's effort?
Yeah, definitely. Just like to give a thanks to everybody over at Smith Sim Sport, Michael Smith. Great group of guys over there. They picked me up over the summer and or not over the summer, kind of just in the winter, excuse me, and kind of just took me under their arms. But yeah, a lot of people to thank. Eel Media, obviously you guys, Charlie and Kenneth over at KBRN for broadcasting every week this fantastic league. Glaze and Blen, obviously, for helping me admin. And I would just shout out to Days Gone By Vintage Apparel, Brent Wentz, and those guys. Great group of people, and Vic Bloom, and everybody that's kind of just helped me progress throughout my sim racing career.
Well, Shane, we certainly appreciate the time, and of course, congratulations on your 3rd place effort here at Las Vegas, and obviously we're excited to what you can pull out of the hat going into Dover next week, and obviously well wishes as you're going to be over fighting for that spot to make it in the round of 7. Congratulations, and we wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, thank you, Kenneth.
And Shane Mantova, your 3rd place finisher tonight from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Again, another playoff driver who had kind of in a rough spot there in the midst of the points, but this will definitely help him out along with Cole Williams to try to get some sort of headway to make it into the round of 7 once we wave the checkered flag over at Dover next week. We'll catch up to the 4th place driver, and then driver the number 61, Hunter Rupp, had a chance at the race lead, but succumbs to 4th at the checkered flag. He is trackside with Charlie Baier.
Well, Hunter, it was a battle for the finish there, and you found yourself in position to win, but unfortunately just came up short out of that 4-card pack. So just describe to me what happened in that last run between all those guys.
Well, it was, we were running like 4th most of the day. So, I guess we finished where we probably should have. So, yeah, and then we had those cautions late. That kind of helped. And obviously Parker getting killed. And that set me and Sartaj up. And the plan was, if I was ahead of Sartaj, he was going to block for me. And if I was behind Sartaj, I was going to block for him. So that was the plan from the get-go after that. And he took 2 tires, so I was like, okay, I guess this is going to be a lot more difficult. And then I let Blaze by, and then Blaze and I had our little thing. And then just a couple other people got by, and yeah. So P4, I'll take it.
Alrighty, and it's quite a bit to dwell on with that unpredictable finish there. So I'd ask just what more could you have possibly done to put yourself in a position or in a better position to go race for possibly and steal the win?
I feel like we let Blaze by too easily. Then after that, we just kind of got swallowed up in the pack because I thought if we stuck with Sartaj for a little bit longer than that, we could have gotten by him before because his tires had sat by then, and then we were all just kind of on even playing ground. Sartaj had to block for himself, and then obviously after Cole got to my outside, that was probably when our chance for the win was over. But I was going to take any position in that pack, so it's fine with me.
All right, Hunter. Well, thanks for coming out here and racing with us, and we hope to see you next week for Dover. It's going to be another unpredictable race. But before we let you go, do you have any teams or anyone that you'd like to thank for making tonight's top 5 run possible?
Basin Racing, Sartaj for being cool. We were racing the whole entire race before that. Uric Designs, $10 for one paint scheme, $15 for 2 paint schemes, and that's about it.
All right, Hunter. We'll see you then. Good luck.
Thank you.
That's Hunter up, 4th place finisher at the line, obviously battling with Sartaj Vaughn for most of the race, had a chance at the win, but did fall to Ford. Nonetheless, very, very strong effort. The driver at the helm of that number 61. We'll take one number off of the 61. We'll go to the number 60 and catch up with 5th place finisher Joseph Costello. Our final interview of the night. We'll catch up with Joseph here on pit road. And Joseph, it was a wild race for sure, I think, for everybody on every single front. But for you, most notably at the end, you had a shot. You were running within that top 5. Give us your perspective of just how things changed when you were kind of near the latter half of the top 10, and all of a sudden things start to really spiral out of control with drivers in front of you, and you were able to slip into the top 5 and survive here at Vegas.
It was a chaotic race. I mean, the beginning of it was just, you feel like it was like a wreck fest, but then you also feel like it wasn't a wreck fest. Like, we had good long runs, and dirty air was just a big factor. But then another big factor was the cars just getting loose on the bottom side, and that's where it really kept me trying to get me a shot for the win, or hell, maybe a top 3, because I was just hanging back there a little bit, and I was catching them, and every time I go into turns 1 and 2, I just got loose and I just lost all my time. Very interesting race, that's all I can say.
I think that really goes the case for everybody, because we were pretty much on our toes. A lot of people involved in incidents, most notably playoff drivers. You, of course, are one of the drivers that's not running for a championship, but just trying to run for that win. Explain to us what's that like, because I know it's kind of a tricky situation, because you want to be aggressive, you want to try the most you can to be the best and be there out front to win races, but you also have those playoff drivers right alongside you and drivers running with you that are running for a title. Explain how that's like for you behind the wheel and knowing you're in the midst of that situation here tonight.
It's very intense, to say the least. Like, you want to give them room, and you know they're going for a championship, and you're just here and having fun, or just want to going for a win. For the drivers that are going for like a playoff championship, I'm trying to give them room, trying to let them go do their own thing and let them get the most points because they need it. Because I don't want to ruin their race, because if I do that, then I feel like I did something wrong and stupid, and I don't want to feel like I did something wrong and stupid. For me, it's a little frustrating that I cannot push harder than I was, but I'm also here just for fun for the rest of the season. So I'm just as shocked as anybody else is that I got a top 5 at Vegas. I'm not really strong at the cup cars. Anything else bigger than a short track.
Well, certainly a lot of fun behind the wheel, and we saw you saving it off of turn number 2, a miraculous save. It was very fun to watch that, and of course you end up with the top 5, so very, very good news for you. But before we let you go, I know there's a lot of people you got to thank, so who gets it done for you each and every week? Any team sponsors or anyone else that you'd like to thank?
Well, recently I just joined a new team, Merle Motorsports. I'd like to thank them for bringing the late extra car up to Vegas. I want to thank every one of my sponsors: JC Graphics, KBRN, Shane D. Mantevio Designs, ELI Media, ARC, and Bundren Lawn Care. They are very good sponsors of mine, good friends of mine too. Just awesome, fun car, very loose car. I really wish I had more grip, but I really wish dirty air wasn't a thing. Hopefully next time, which probably be Daytona, we come out with a win or maybe a top 5, and hopefully not wreck at Daytona, because I'm not going to run Dover. Just I don't want to wreck the field or whatever. So yeah.
Well, Joseph, certainly was a lot of fun watching you out on track, and of course we appreciate your time and we thank you for joining us, and congratulations on your top 5. Very, very solid run, and of course we look forward to seeing you for the rest of the Bundren Lawn Care series in season 3.
All right, thank you.
As Joseph Costello, your 5th place finisher and our final interview of the evening to wrap our broadcast off right here on the KBueno Racing Network for the Bundren Lawn Care Series playoffs from Las Vegas. We'll step back into the commentary box and I'll join Charlie Baier once again. Charlie, it was probably the most wild race we've had, I'd say, apart from Talladega. But even then, Talladega, it's in its own right. You know Talladega is going to be wild, but we did not expect this race specifically to hold that kind of nature. But you saw it with the playoff drivers. A lot of them caught in trouble. A lot of them were out early. And now this is going to be a really, really big fight when we come to Dover in the Monster Mile. What's going to be that fighting spirit? What's going to be needed in order to get and slip into that top 7, make it to the next round?
Well, I think, a lot of the guys are just kind of preying on the misfortune of others, but, there's certainly people like Jonathan T. Jones who kind of had a playoff spot or had a next round spot slipped out of their hands tonight. Next week could be an easier rebound if he were to be able to put enough points on his head and gain enough points on the person. I believe it's actually Glenn Bundren now that is on the cutoff line. So it's all comes down to that and getting as much points as you can. So Dover is going to be kind of the representative of unpredictable with such a tight race track, such a loose racetrack, and really a driver track. So I think that it's definitely going to be the chaos is definitely going to continue, especially in a cutoff round.
It's going to be even more interesting. Obviously, things will shake up. You can see right here as we show you the Bundren Lawn Care Series playoff format and the playoff grid going into tonight. Obviously, Las Vegas and the round all the way under the Charlotte Roval, that will be highlighted in yellow, but it'll still stay Aiden Kirker, the only driver locked in to the playoffs. No other playoff driver will join him, but obviously the points shakeup will change. We'll have 3 drivers eliminated at the end of Dover next week. Well, we've got a lot coming up for you on the KBueno Racing Network within the next week, and of course, it'll start on, I'd say next Monday night. That'll be what we really have lined up for you. So next week, it'll be the Bundren Lawn Care Series from the Dover International Speedway. That'll be coverage at about 8:20 p.m. Eastern right here on the KBueno Racing Network. Of course, Charlie Baier and myself will be on the call as we find out who of the 7 will find their way to continue their run for a Bundren Lawn Care Series championship in Season 3. Of course, we'll find that out, and we'll have coverage. We'll give you updates on our social media at KBRN Network on Twitter and at KBueno Racing Network on Instagram. You can follow us there for more updates regarding the Bundren Lawn Care Series and all the other series we cover within the next year or so, or at least for the rest of 2021. Well, that does it here for the broadcast of the Bundren Lawn Care Series playoffs from the gambling city and the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I want to thank everybody who makes this possible in this league. Obviously, Glenn Bundren, Blaze McKinney, Shani Mantovo, all the admins that make things possible for the Bundren Lawn Care Series each and every week. And for all of us at the KBueno Racing Network, for Francisco Bacchiao and my colleague in the booth, Charlie Baier, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying good night under the lights from Las Vegas. We'll catch you next week as we decide the 7 drivers in the round of 7 at the Monster Mile.